On a lighter note, when an Irishman dies and he's had a fulfilling life, we don't mourn, we celebrate. And today is a celebration. It is a great privilege being a Kialoa, and there are many amongst us today. And I'd like to share a couple of stories about what a joy and privilege that was. I met Jim Kilroy 34 years ago this month, sailing in the Cal Cup, and that led to a wonderful opportunity sailing on K3, 4, and 5. And if I could, I'd like to share one sea story that I was a new kid on the boat, and we were doing the St. Pete Lauderdale race back when boats were boats and men were men and wire was strong. And we were match racing Condor, and we were getting down to Rebecca Shoals, and we had the half ounce up, and we had taken the lured after guy off because we wanted the sail to fill properly. A puff came in, and Jim started yelling at Alan, "Alan, how deep's the water?" And there was no response, and Jim yelled out again, "How deep's the water?" And Alan finally says, "Jesus, Jim, we should have been aground half a mile ago." And at that moment, we hit. And we hit hard. In fact, the guys on Condor said that we hit so hard that our rudder came out of the water. And on an 80-foot boat, you do the trigonometry, but that's a lot of motion. Jim crashed into the wheel, and the four guys that were pulling down the clew of the spinnaker to hook up the after guy, well, three of them let go, but one of them didn't, and Justin Smart suddenly went to the halfway up the rig. The boat jibed, the sail stayed full, and in the calmest voice you can imagine, Justin yelled out, "Laurent, don't ease the spinnaker." Well, he shimmied down, and we actually got the boat going again, and we beat Condor to Lauderdale. And it was to say that it was a privilege to have that red shirt is an understatement. We sailed with future kings and cons, and maybe a con artist or two once in a while. But it was always exciting, and you were always, when you were on Kialoa, you were with the king of yachting, Jim Kilroy. And we're all forever grateful for that opportunity. Fast forward a few years, and I was living here in Los Angeles, and Jim called me up, and some of you may recall that he built a third scale model of Kialoa 5. And he would take it out on wet Wednesdays, and it was a cute boat, and Joe and I would go out on it, and it was great fun, but Jim would always think that he had all 28 of us on board, and it was just the two of us, and the boat was half sinking, and oh my God, it was just great fun. But after a less than stellar performance, I got a phone call from Jim the next day, and when Jim Kilroy calls, it's like an E.F. Hutton moment. Everyone stops. You gotta listen, and he said, "John, would you like to come join me in a Masters match racing regatta in Sardinia next month?" And I was just stunned by the offer, and I said, "Of course." And I said, "Jim, my girlfriend is studying in her last semester at law school in London. Would it be all right if she joined us?" Now, the Kialoas will understand the 24-hour rule, but the 24-hour rule was you had to know your date for more than 24 hours before you can invite them to the crew dinner. Well, there was a long pause. "Is this serious, John?" I mean, it was a booming, and I was like, well, gosh, I hope so, Jim. And then you could hear, it was almost like the Jeopardy, ding, 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 ding. And he said, "Well, okay then," which was wonderful. It was, I'm forever grateful. I always credit Jim Kilroy for closing the deal on my courtship with my lovely bride of 21 years, and I'm grateful for that. I enjoyed today's ceremony, but I want to take one small exception with the Father's homily. Jim Kilroy is not building condos in heaven. Let's be clear, he is messing about in boats. They are the finest and the fastest. Here's to a man in full and a life well lived.